Under the dim glow of streetlights on a quiet Maryland evening, the crisp September air carried the scent of fallen leaves and distant rain. 17-year-old Vanessa Montgomery stepped out of the corner diner at 9:12 p.m., balancing her school books and a small paper bag of groceries for her mother. Her laughter, caught fleetingly on the diner's security camera, was the last trace of normal life before an invisible darkness would descend on her family for nearly 2 decades. That night, Vanessa never made it home. Her disappearance sent shockwaves through her tight-knit Baltimore neighborhood. Friends described a girl full of energy and warmth, the kind who could light up a room with a smile. She was academically gifted, active in debate club, and volunteered at the local animal shelter on weekends. Her bedroom, left untouched after she vanished, revealed a young life brimming with dreams. Journals filled with college plans, volunteer goals, and a small tin labeled Vanessa's Future, where she saved money for tuition and personal ambitions. Her parents clung to every photograph and note, desperately trying to keep her memory alive while grappling with the uncertainty of her fate. Initial investigation yielded frustratingly little. Security footage from the diner showed Vanessa leaving alone, waving to the manager and stepping into the dimly lit streets. A few distant witnesses recalled a dark sedan following her briefly, but their accounts were inconsistent, leaving detectives with nothing substantial. Tips poured in, some hopeful, some misleading. False confessions and misidentified sightings repeatedly misdirected investigators. Vanessa's family lived with a gnawing sense of dread, never knowing whether she was alive, harmed, or lost forever. For years, the Montgomery case remained cold, a lingering question mark in Baltimore's law enforcement files. By 2015, with the rise of forensic cold case units and advances in DNA technology, investigators revisited unsolved cases with renewed optimism. Vanessa's case stood out immediately. Evidence had been meticulously preserved: a coffee cup she used at the diner, fibers from a scarf she wore, and fragments of a receipt from a nearby gas station. Though overlooked in 2002, these items now offered a potential path forward, thanks to modern DNA amplification techniques capable of extracting usable genetic material from even microscopic samples. Analysis revealed a male DNA profile not present in criminal databases. This was the breakthrough the Montgomerys had longed for but never expected to see. Forensic genetic genealogy was employed, comparing the unknown DNA against commercial ancestry databases to identify potential relatives and build a family tree leading back to the suspect. By 2017, investigators had narrowed the possibilities to a handful of local families, eventually identifying a man who had previously eluded suspicion entirely: Richard Callahan, a longtime family friend deeply embedded in the community. Callahan had presented himself as the ideal neighbor and mentor. He attended school events, volunteered at libraries and youth programs, and regularly offered rides to teens in the neighborhood. To everyone outside, he was dependable and trustworthy. Yet beneath the surface, a hidden darkness had been quietly festering. Investigators began reviewing old surveillance footage, which revealed Callahan's car parked in suspicious locations at times coinciding with Vanessa's disappearance. Fibers from Vanessa's scarf matched those found in his vehicle, and phone records confirmed he had been in close proximity to her daily route for weeks prior to her vanishing. Detectives planned their approach carefully, gathering evidence while keeping Callahan unaware. In November 2018, the arrest was made. Taken into custody without incident, Callahan eventually confessed, describing his actions in chilling detail. He admitted tracking Vanessa for weeks, rationalizing his behavior through a warped sense of connection and control. His narrative, calm and emotionless, explained why he had inserted himself into her family's life, attending events and offering help, all while hiding the truth of his crimes. The Montgomery family experienced a complex mixture of relief and devastation. Finally knowing the identity of the person responsible brought a measure of justice, but it also opened old wounds. Vanessa's mother described the emotional impact. For years, I clung to hope, but there was always a shadow of doubt. Now we know what happened. Justice isn't the same as having her back, but it's the only solace we can hold. Friends and neighbors reeled as they tried to reconcile the man they trusted with the predator revealed by DNA. Court proceedings meticulously outlined the timeline of events, combining decades-old investigative records with modern forensic evidence. The narrative painted Callahan as a man who leveraged his apparent trustworthiness to evade suspicion for nearly 16 years. Witnesses testified about his long-standing community involvement, and psychologists detailed the manipulative behaviors of perpetrators who embed themselves in victims' lives, gaining access and power through feigned benevolence. Every revelation sent ripples through Baltimore, shaking the community's sense of safety and trust. Despite the emotional weight, Vanessa's story became a beacon for change. Scholarships were established in her name, educating teens about personal safety and the importance of reporting suspicious behavior. Law enforcement agencies used the case as a model for cold case investigations, demonstrating the power of combining preserved evidence with modern DNA techniques and genetic genealogy. Vanessa's journals, published posthumously, reminded the public of the vibrant, ambitious life that had been cut tragically short, and underscored the human stakes behind every cold case. Detective Laura Hastings, who led the renewed investigation, emphasized the broader lessons learned. This case shows that time doesn't erase truth. Evidence, carefully preserved, combined with determination and modern science, can reveal answers long hidden. Families who have waited years deserve closure, and the truth eventually finds its way, no matter how long it takes. Callahan was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The verdict marked the end of a journey that began with unanswered questions and a family's silent anguish. Vanessa's memory continues to resonate through her community, her story a lasting testament to resilience, the pursuit of justice, and the enduring power of science to uncover truth. The Maryland cold case serves as both a cautionary tale and a message of hope. It reminds us that the most familiar faces can conceal the darkest secrets, but persistence, innovation, and dedication ensure that the truth eventually comes to light. Families can hold on to the knowledge that justice, though delayed, can and will be served. The early months of 2003 in Baltimore were a blur of anxious anticipation for the Montgomery family. Every phone call, every knock at the door carried the potential for answers they had long been denied. Vanessa's father, Samuel Montgomery, tirelessly revisited old leads, scrutinizing case files with a blend of hope and frustration. Meanwhile, law enforcement quietly ramped up their renewed investigation, leveraging both the latest forensic techniques and new witness statements uncovered through persistent community outreach. One seemingly minor clue emerged from a neighbor's garage, where a storage box of Vanessa's childhood items had been forgotten. Among the old journals, sketches, and school awards, investigators discovered a letter Vanessa had written to herself weeks before her disappearance. It wasn't meant for anyone else. A simple note detailing her route home from the diner, the bus stop she normally used, and a list of the people she trusted. Though mundane at first glance, this letter would become a crucial piece of the puzzle. It confirmed details the investigators had long suspected. Vanessa's habit of documenting daily movements, which explained why her preserved items and notes were so meticulously arranged, allowing the forensic team to map her final steps with unprecedented clarity. By spring 2017, the team had combined this historical insight with advanced DNA analysis. Forensic genetic genealogy had identified Richard Callahan as a person of interest, and surveillance confirmed he lived along paths Vanessa frequently traveled. Investigators discreetly collected discarded items, including a cigarette butt and a coffee cup, to compare DNA profiles without alerting him. When the results returned, They matched DNA extracted from Vanessa's belongings nearly perfectly, a breakthrough that shocked even the most seasoned detectives. While the scientific confirmation was a milestone, the emotional impact on the Montgomery family was immense. Samuel and his wife, Lorraine, struggled to balance relief with heartbreak. For years, they had been haunted by uncertainty, unable to mourn fully because the truth remained unknown. Now, facing the reality of their daughter's fate, the weight of grief returned with startling intensity. Vanessa's younger brother, Michael, then 15 at the time of discovery, expressed the complicated mix of vindication and lingering sorrow. "We finally know who took her. It doesn't bring her back, but at least the nightmare has a name." Community reaction was equally complex. Callahan had been a familiar, trusted presence, someone who had volunteered at local shelters, helped organize school fundraisers, and offered mentorship to teenagers. Friends and neighbors wrestled with disbelief, struggling to reconcile the man they knew with the one revealed by DNA and forensic evidence. Former students who had attended tutoring sessions under his guidance found themselves questioning every interaction, every kind gesture, wondering if it had been calculated, a means of gaining access or building trust for his own hidden motives. When authorities finally executed the arrest warrant in late 2018, it was an emotionally charged scene. Callahan was calm but visibly pale as officers informed him of the charges. Surveillance cameras captured his quiet resignation. There was no fight, no sudden outburst, just a man confronted with decades of secrets suddenly exposed. For investigators, the moment represented the culmination of years of painstaking work, blending historical case files, forensic evidence, and modern science to bring long-awaited justice. Courtroom proceedings in early 2019 revealed the depth of Callahan's deception. Prosecutors meticulously reconstructed the timeline, using a combination of eyewitness accounts, digital enhancements of surveillance footage, and detailed forensic analysis of preserved evidence. The letter Vanessa had written to herself, once dismissed as a trivial note, became a centerpiece of testimony. It demonstrated her awareness and caution, illustrating that she had been careful to avoid risk, yet still fell victim to someone she had trusted implicitly. As the trial unfolded, the human toll was palpable. Lorraine Montgomery struggled to maintain composure while recounting Vanessa's final months, the small triumphs of her daughter's adolescence, and the heartbreak of watching her child vanish. Samuel described the endless nights spent combing streets and revisiting evidence, the toll on his health, and the constant fear that justice might never come. Michael spoke on behalf of siblings everywhere whose lives are irrevocably changed by acts of violence and betrayal. Evidence revealed that Callahan had used his position of community trust to manipulate and isolate Vanessa, positioning himself as a helper and protector while orchestrating her disappearance. Items from his home, letters, photographs, and personal notes, confirmed his long-term obsession and planning, exposing a chilling pattern of predatory behavior that had gone unnoticed for years. Prosecutors highlighted how Callahan's meticulous record-keeping allowed him to remain undetected, a cautionary tale of how outward appearances can mask insidious intentions. Public response to the trial was a mixture of vindication and unease. Neighborhood meetings, once casual gatherings, became forums for processing grief, fear, and betrayal. Local schools incorporated discussions on personal safety, emphasizing vigilance and the importance of reporting suspicious behavior, using Vanessa's story as a real-world example. Faith leaders reflected on the community's collective responsibility, acknowledging that trust, while essential for social cohesion, must be balanced with awareness and caution. For law enforcement, the case reinforced the transformative power of technology and persistence. Detective Laura Hastings emphasized in interviews that the combination of preserved evidence, modern DNA analysis, and genealogical research had proven decisive. Vanessa's case demonstrates that even decades-old crimes can be solved, she explained. Meticulous evidence preservation and innovative techniques allow us to uncover truths long buried, offering hope to families who have waited years for answers. As the trial progressed, Callahan's defense attempted to downplay his involvement, arguing that memories faded over time and that physical evidence might be contaminated. However, the weight of scientific testimony, combined with historical corroboration, proved overwhelming. Witnesses who had interacted with Vanessa in her final days provided consistent accounts of her movements, establishing a timeline that matched forensic findings precisely. Items recovered from Callahan's property confirmed not only his proximity, but his active involvement in her disappearance, leaving little room for doubt. The emotional intensity peaked when the jury heard recordings of Callahan's own admissions to minor manipulations and stalking behaviors over the years, which, in the context of the DNA evidence, painted a chilling portrait of premeditation and deceit. For the Montgomery family, the courtroom was both a site of trauma and a space where decades of unanswered questions began to coalesce into a narrative that could finally be confronted, if not fully healed from. In June 2019, the verdict delivered a measure of closure. Callahan was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Though it could never return Vanessa to her family, it ensured that the man who had hidden behind a facade of normalcy would no longer pose a threat to the community. The Montgomerys expressed gratitude to law enforcement, forensic scientists, and advocates whose perseverance had bridged the gap of nearly 17 years. The case resonated far beyond Maryland. Law enforcement agencies nationwide cited the Montgomery investigation as a benchmark in cold case resolution, demonstrating the efficacy of combining preserved evidence with modern DNA testing and forensic genealogy. Workshops, lectures, and policy discussions emphasized the importance of maintaining evidence integrity and leveraging technological advancements to revisit unsolved cases, giving voice to victims long silenced. In the months following the trial, Vanessa's legacy took on new dimensions. Scholarships in her name were established at local schools, encouraging students to pursue education in science, law, and community service. A public memorial in her neighborhood became a place for reflection, learning, and collective healing, reminding residents that while a single act of violence can leave lasting scars, communal resilience can foster hope and remembrance. Detective Hastings reflected on the broader implications. Every unsolved case is a life interrupted, a story incomplete. Vanessa's case shows that truth is patient, that perseverance matters, and that justice, though delayed, is never denied when science and human determination converge. The Maryland 2002 cold case illustrates the intersection of human tragedy, technological advancement, and the enduring pursuit of justice. For the Montgomery family and their community, it provided answers, accountability, and an opportunity to honor Vanessa's life in tangible, lasting ways. And for the countless families still waiting, it stands as a powerful reminder. No matter how many years pass, the truth can be uncovered and justice can prevail. The summer of 2019 in Baltimore carried a strange mixture of relief, grief, and lingering tension. The courtroom drama had concluded, the verdict delivered, and yet the Montgomery family felt an emotional void that neither time nor justice could fill. Vanessa's absence was an unshakable presence, a reminder that even with the arrest and sentencing of Richard Callahan, nothing could truly restore the life that had been taken from them. Detective Laura Hastings continued her work, visiting the Montgomerys regularly, offering updates on ancillary investigations into Callahan's other activities. It was discovered that several incidents previously dismissed as minor or coincidental bore a disturbing pattern when re-examined in light of Callahan's conviction. Items from his residence, meticulously catalogued by investigators, revealed correspondence and journals hinting at other manipulative behaviors spanning decades. Each revelation, though shocking, reinforced the community's understanding of how carefully he had hidden his true nature behind a facade of normalcy and benevolence. The emotional weight on the Montgomery family was compounded by the media attention. National outlets covered the case extensively, highlighting the combination of perseverance, forensic science, and genealogical DNA breakthroughs that had cracked a mystery 17 years old. Samuel and Lorraine Montgomery were careful to maintain privacy for themselves and Michael, now a young adult, yet they recognized the importance of their story in encouraging vigilance, trust in law enforcement, and the value of persistent investigation. Michael, reflecting on the events that had consumed his adolescence, spoke in interviews about the balance of pain and closure. Knowing the truth doesn't heal everything, but it gives you a compass. We can remember Vanessa as she was, not just as the victim of a crime. Callahan's imprisonment did not erase the ripple effects of his actions. Former neighbors, colleagues, and acquaintances grappled with disbelief, re-examining past interactions and personal recollections. Community programs were launched to educate citizens about subtle predatory behaviors, the importance of communication, and safeguarding vulnerable individuals. Schools incorporated practical lessons on situational awareness and emotional resilience, ensuring that Vanessa's legacy included both remembrance and education. In parallel, law enforcement agencies took stock of procedural successes and areas for improvement. The case reinforced the significance of meticulous evidence preservation, cross-generational investigative collaboration, and embracing emerging technologies like genetic genealogy. Workshops and conferences cited the Montgomery case as a model, emphasizing that persistence, innovation, and empathy for victims' families are equally critical in resolving cold cases. Detective Hastings, who had devoted years to this investigation, reflected publicly, "Every piece of evidence is a voice from the past. Our duty is to listen carefully, piece together the narrative, and honor those who were silenced." Amid the professional and public dimensions of the case, the Montgomery family sought personal healing. Memorials, small gatherings, and community events became spaces to process grief collectively. Vanessa's journals, sketches, and letters were preserved in a local library archive, accessible for research, remembrance, and education. This tangible preservation allowed the community to connect with her spirit and fostered dialogue on the broader impacts of violence and recovery. By 2021, Vanessa's story had inspired additional cold case investigations across Maryland and neighboring states. Detectives revisited unresolved disappearances, leveraging the success of the DNA genealogy method and learning from the structured, collaborative approach of the Montgomery investigation. These efforts led to several previously cold cases being reopened, generating renewed hope for families who had long awaited answers. The ripple effect of one long-sought resolution demonstrated that dedicated investigation could yield justice even after decades of silence. The emotional climax of the case was perhaps most visible in the Montgomerys' personal reflections. Lorraine, speaking at a community event in 2022, described the paradoxical journey of loss and closure. "Vanessa is gone, but the truth has freed us in ways we never imagined. Our sorrow remains, but we can now celebrate her life, her courage, and the lessons she taught us by simply existing in this world." Samuel echoed these sentiments, emphasizing gratitude for the tireless efforts of investigators and the advances in forensic science that had finally unveiled the truth. Michael, now pursuing a career in forensic science inspired by the resolution of his sister's case, remarked on the transformative nature of experience. "I want to help others find answers, to give families closure that we longed for. Vanessa's story motivates me every day, and I hope our experience can prevent similar tragedies in the future." His perspective highlighted the intergenerational impact of a single case and underscored the enduring influence of perseverance, technology, and compassion. Callahan, incarcerated and facing the stark reality of life without parole, remained a silent presence in the community narrative. His attempts to downplay responsibility during appeals were consistently countered by meticulous documentation, forensic evidence, and the recorded timeline of events. While he could not undo the harm, his conviction served as a deterrent, a legal acknowledgement of accountability, and a source of validation for the Montgomery family and the broader community. Ultimately, the Maryland 2002 cold case exemplifies the intersection of tragedy, resilience, and scientific innovation. The painstaking efforts to uncover the truth after 17 years reinforced that no crime is too old to resolve, no mystery too cold to thaw. It also demonstrated the profound importance of community vigilance, evidence preservation, and unwavering dedication from law enforcement professionals. Vanessa Montgomery's legacy transcends the confines of her tragic death. Scholarships, educational programs, community awareness initiatives, and public memorials continue to honor her memory. Families across the nation, inspired by the successful resolution of her case, have found hope that their own unanswered questions might one day be addressed. And while grief never fully dissipates, the combined power of persistence, technology, and human empathy ensured that justice, though delayed, was finally delivered. Detective Hastings' closing reflections encapsulated the emotional and professional essence of the case. Vanessa's story teaches us that truth endures. Time may pass, but evidence remains, and justice will always find a path. For families who have waited, for communities shaken, and for victims silenced too soon, this resolution is a testament to patience, determination, and hope. As the Maryland community continues to heal, the echoes of Vanessa's story serve as both caution and inspiration, a reminder of the fragility of trust, the strength of perseverance, and the transformative power of science combined with human resolve. Her life, though tragically cut short, catalyzed change, education, and awareness, leaving a mark that transcends the years and honors the pursuit of justice that never wavered. The Maryland 2002 cold case stands as a compelling chronicle of loss, determination, and the enduring quest for truth. Through emotional courage, forensic breakthroughs, and relentless investigative work, the haunting mystery that gripped a family and community for nearly 2 decades was finally resolved, leaving a lasting legacy of justice, remembrance, and hope.